Okay, everyone. Thanks for dialing in. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our Fall Quarter Climate Services webinar. I'm Major Jeremy Dehart. I'm the Assistant Director of Operations at the 14th Weather Squadron. So first thing we want to do is just kind of go over a few ROEs. So during today's webinar, if you have any comments or questions, we ask that you please hold them until the end. Questions may be asked over the phone or typed into the DCS window. We'll have someone monitoring the DCS chat window to answer your questions. Also, please keep your phones on mute unless you have a question until the end of the session. Your feedback on the utility of this webinar is also very important to us, so please take some time following today's session to download the 5-question feedback form, and we'll have an instructional slide at the very end of this presentation to show you how to do that. All right, so quick overview of what we'll be going over today. We'll go over a tutorial of a couple of our products. Then we'll cover our State of the Climate briefing to include a look at El Nino and how it's shaping up for the next couple of months. Some new and or updated products. And then finally we'll highlight a few of our recent support assistance requests or SARs. So we'll go ahead and get started by looking at a few of our standard applications. So you may remember, if you tuned in during our last webinar, that we unveiled this product help PDF, which serves as sort of a how-to guide for the majority of our product sets. So if you navigate to our homepage, www.climate.af.mil, you can see we've got a couple different links for you to click there that brings up this product help guide. So if you click on those links, you'll bring up this page, which you can see there's a list of the majority of our products, including some questions that help guide you and point you in the right direction if you're not exactly sure what product you might be looking for. So today, we're going to cover our wind stratified conditional climatology or WISC tables. So if you've ever worked on a forecaster desk, you may remember those big binders full of these climo tables, which are WISC. So hopefully the way we've got it set up on our webpage is a little more efficient for you to use. But the bottom line with the WISC, as the name implies, it employs a conditional climatology approach. So given initial conditions, it provides the likelihood of change based on climatology only. So it doesn't incorporate mono data or a TAF or any kind of forecast data, but what it's useful for, particularly is forecasting for persistence if you're not necessarily expecting a lot of those conditions, initial conditions to change over time. So just kind of point you here how to use this product. You put in either the IKO or the location here at the top. It will then auto-populate. If there's an observation available, it'll auto-populate that observation for you and pull in that data automatically. And if the observation is not available, well, you can put in manually up in this section the ceiling and viz and wind. So what that will do is take those initial conditions and bring up a climo table showing you what you can expect over the next 24 hours. Again, that's against climatology only. So for this example, you see here at Kunsan, we had clear skies and unlimited visibility. The output here is percentage. So you can see here for that first hour, there's a 90-some% chance that you'll continue to see those conditions over that first hour. But if you prog this out, only a 50-some% chance at about a 24-hour period. So that's available for both ceiling and visibility. So for each station has a unique set number of parameters or sequences, and a sequence is essentially just the combination of ceiling and viz and wind But if you need more specific parameters that you'd like to look at or different thresholds, well, you can request a SAR, and we can provide more of those. And we're going to talk some about that in our Taylor support part of this presentation on a specific example. All right, so the next product we're going to highlight is mod curves. And you can see here, again, looking at the product help guide, it specifically has to do with forecasting hourly temperatures. Mod curves is short for modeled diurnal curves. So it's similar to the WISP tables in that you're looking at initial conditions. So given initial temperature, in this case, it provides the likelihood of a temperature range based on the time of day. Again, that's matched against climatology, not forecast model data specifically. The input is similar to the WISC. You just put in your IKO or location up at the top. It will pull in the METAR observation if that's available, and then populate this data here in the curves. And so, again, it looks at the next 24 hours or so just based on the diurnal trends. So the red line is the 95th percentile, meaning that there's only a 5% chance that an observation will fall above that point, and the blue line is the 5th percentile, meaning there's only a 5% chance it would fall below that point. And then you can also, again, plug this in manually if the observation is not populating automatically, and that's essentially what the green line is. And it will tell you the exact percentile that whatever temperature and hour that you decide to put in. So we've made some improvements to this application over the last 6 months. We've improved the web interface, given a little bit of a cleaner look. We also did away with these used to be kind of pre-generated in the past, and we've tied them to our database specifically. So doing that, we were able to increase the number of sites available from 650 to about 7,500. So we hope that these improvements will make the product easier to use and also provide you some more data that's relevant to your specific location. Okay, so those are the two forecaster tool products that we were going to highlight today. Again, I just want to point you back to this product help guide. If you're not sure of products that you're looking for, you come to our page, just click on that, and hopefully this can help point you in the right direction. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Captain Anthony to go over our global state of the climate.
Hello, I'm Captain Anthony. Let's review the state of the climate. During the webinar in July, we reviewed the Madden-Julian Oscillation and the El Niño Southern Oscillation and their teleconnections with global temperature and precipitation anomalies. Today we'll focus on ENSO again and its effects on the climate. First, First, we will review the current ENSO conditions, and then we'll discuss its forecast. The current state of the climate reflects a positive phase of ENSO. Over the last 4 weeks, tropical sea surface temperatures were above average across the equatorial Pacific Ocean, with the largest anomalies in the eastern Pacific. The latest weekly sea surface temperature departures, located on the top left of your screen, indicate all Nino areas are 1 to 2.8 degrees Celsius above average. This year is trending toward a strong El Nino, consistent with events from 1982-83 and 1997-98. Throughout this presentation, we'll reference these events in order to assess potential climatological impacts. Because sea surface temperatures continue to be warmer than average across the equatorial Pacific Ocean, we can expect to see enhanced equatorial convection and significant low-level westerlies. El Nino conditions are expected to persist over the coming months. According to Climate Prediction Center, there is a 95% chance that El Nino conditions will persist throughout the Northern Hemisphere winter, gradually weakening through spring 2016. The plume of ENSO model predictions on the left shows fairly strong agreement in the timing of the event, and most have sea surface temperatures more than 0.5 degrees Celsius higher than average through April, May, June 2016. after which conditions will return to neutral, and projections show the potential for the climate to dip into a negative phase of ENSO, La Niña, later next summer. CPC's official forecast is indicated by the solid black line. This slide shows a quick snapshot of El Niño's general impacts throughout the world. El Niño conditions will bring warmer than average conditions across the northwestern United States, southeastern Brazil, along the equatorial Pacific, southeastern Australia, Southeast Asia, and Japan. Colder than normal conditions are expected along the southern tier of the United States. Drier than normal conditions are expected over northeastern Brazil, Hawaii into Indonesia and northern Australia, and in the southeastern African countries. Wetter than normal conditions are expected along the southern tier of the United States, Uruguay and Argentina, along the equatorial Pacific near Tanzania and Taiwan. Global temperature analysis over the past month shows that this October was the highest on record over the past 136 years. The highlighted regions show anomalies with warmer than average conditions in the western United States, central Pacific, Brazil, and in southern Asia, and colder than average temperatures in Australia. Global precipitation analysis over the past month shows an apparent positive teleconnection between the phase of ENSO and the precipitation anomalies. Wetter than normal conditions persisted in the equatorial Pacific, and relatively drier conditions were persistent in northeastern Brazil, Indonesia, Australia, and southern Africa. Shifting the focus toward our climate forecast, in December, expect warmer than average conditions to persist over much of the globe. Notice the areas on the top left highlighting extreme positive temperature anomalies in the equatorial Pacific, equatorial South America, and the northern tier of North America and India. The bottom right shows projected precipitation anomalies. Notice below normal precipitation in equatorial South America, the Philippines, Mariana Islands, and Indonesia regions. Current drought conditions show a slight improvement in the western United States and in parts of Canada, parts of the Middle East, and Sudan. Drought intensified in North America and Alaska and parts of the Midwest. Drought intensified in parts of equatorial South America, throughout Eastern Europe, in parts of Africa, Southeast Asia, and Korea, Japan. Forecasting drought conditions into January 2016, we see conditions similar to current observations. Expect continued slight improvements to drought conditions in the western United States, Eastern Europe, and northeastern Australia. Generally speaking, regions closer to the equator will see drought conditions intensify. Elsewhere, drought conditions are not expected to change appreciably. Shifting gears, our biweekly snow assessment report is available for several major watersheds in the Middle East. These reports are a joint effort between the 14th Weather Squadron and 16th Weather Squadron, as well as United States Army Corps of Engineers, Cold Regions Research and Engineering Laboratory, CREL. With each biweekly iteration, 4 regional PDF reports are produced, providing a high-resolution snow-covered area analysis and a watershed-specific season-to-date total of snow water equivalent, which is used as a measure of snow depth. As you scroll through the report, you'll find an overview of each watershed analyzed, as well as an expert analysis slide summarizing conditions. Find our latest climate monitoring and prediction products, navigate to our webpage, and click on the Climate Monitoring and Prediction tab along the menu pane or the CMAP icon in the featured products. Staff Sergeant Brantner will now highlight some of our more recent SARs.
Hello, I'm Staff Sergeant Brantner, and today I'll highlight some recent SARs. As we discussed earlier, we are anticipating a strong El Niño for the Northern Hemisphere winter. However, while ENSO is typically the most prominent climate oscillation, its relationship with other oscillations can influence the extent of its impact. The first recent SAR is a study that we conducted for the first weather group in an attempt to find correlations between the El Niño Southern Oscillation, the North Atlantic Oscillation, and snowfall amounts and high wind occurrences at several Air Force bases. To create these scatter plots, we compiled our own precipitation and wind data and matched it against ENSO and NAO data from the National Centers for Environmental Protection. Plots to the right of center indicate snowfall totals in El Niño years. For this site, while most above normal snowfall events occurred during neutral or positive ENSO conditions and in neutral or negative NAO conditions, you can see that there is generally no clear correlation between the two oscillations. We found similarly inconclusive results for the other sites. This example illustrates the complexities of using climate scale features to forecast weather at the local level. However, we can perform additional studies for many other parameters and oscillations, which may reveal more distinct relationships. If you're interested in conducting a similar climate study for your location, contact us via email or telephone to discuss the specific details. The second recent SAR involved the Wind Stratified Conditional Climatology, or WSCC, application on our website. Forecasters at the 26th OWS requested updates to the ceiling and visibility parameters on the WSCC application to reflect amendment and specification criteria at 6 of their forecast locations. We accomplished this by creating new sequences. A sequence is simply a combination of wind, ceiling, and visibility parameters used in building the product output. If you're using WSCC but can't find a sequence that matches the parameters you're interested in, simply submit a SAR that includes the required values. We can quickly and easily build new sequences, and each station can have up to 9 unique sequences. The next recent SAR required an update to one of our existing products. Previously, our vertical wind profiles only included wind speed and direction. We improved the existing product by adding temperature information and adjusting the format to improve readability. This included plotting color-coded temperatures at each level, blue for below freezing and red for above freezing. We also plotted a solid blue line to represent the mean freezing level through the year. Lastly, we adjusted the spacing between levels to account for the increased amount of data in the lower levels. The final SAR was completed in order to answer a requirement issued by the Office of the Secretary of Defense concerning the impacts of climate change on all Department of Defense installations. The OSD created the Screening Level Vulnerability Assessment Survey, which requested that all installations provide answers to a series of questions about specific vulnerabilities. In order to help installations answer the specific climatological portions of the survey, we compiled data about temperature, precipitation, winds, drought, and severe weather for over 1,700 installations and their geographically separated units. These are just a few examples of what our climate analysis team can do to provide you with what data you need. An important thing to keep in mind is that we generally can help you better if we have as much information as possible and we know what you're trying to do. If you need to submit a SAR, go to https://www.climate.af.mil, hover over the Request Support tab, and then click on Submit Support Request. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, so that concludes our portion of the webinar. Again, we want your feedback, we value your feedback, so here's some instructions on how to download the feedback form. You'll see the button there at the bottom left corner of the presentation screen. Just click on that. It'll bring up these files available for download, and then the feedback form will be right there in the middle. It's a 5-question form. You just want to copy and paste that into the body of your email. Please do that, answer the questions, and just respond back to 14ws_SAR@us.af.mil with your comments or suggestions. Also here, we've got our slideshow that you just saw, so you can click and download the slides for your use as well. And with that, we'd like to go ahead and open up the floor to questions. So go ahead and type them in your DCS window or over the phone.
This is Major Knox from Alaska. I'm sorry to miss the first few minutes of the presentation. Will the audio of this presentation be available somewhere after we're done?
Couldn't tell there if Mr. Knox. It looks like your mic was lighting up. If you were trying to ask a question, we're having problems hearing through DCS. So if you were asking a question, please type in the window. Otherwise, use the phone, please. Okay, Major Knox, yeah, we do see your question in the DCS window. It will be available. So something we've noticed with DCS, these recordings, unfortunately, it takes several weeks for them to load. So as soon as we have that available, we have all of these recordings available on our website through the videos section, and we'll let you know when that becomes available. But you can just keep tabs on our website as well using that videos link from the homepage. Okay. Any other questions out there on DCS or over the phone? We are familiar with the PDO, and we know we're in an extremely positive phase for that as well. Did you have a specific question regarding the PDO?
Agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly the type of feedback that we're looking for from our users out there. So we'll take note of that and look at how we might be able to incorporate that for our next quarter's webinar. Thanks for that suggestion. Okay, there's another question in the window. See, regarding the SAR product shown with the monthly wins aloft chart, are you planning to make that a standard product at some point in the future? I think that was I'm looking at Sergeant Brandon over here, that was your SAR product we were talking about. Someone asked a similar question this morning. So it currently is not available as a standard product. We do handle those as SARs at this time. It is one of our more frequently requested products. So if you click on the recent SARs button from our homepage, we've got a list of those more standard requests, and that is one of them. I don't know if it's been discussed to add that to our product set, but being that we've had those questions continue to come up, we might look at doing that in the future. Okay, anybody else have a question? Okay, Major Knox, see your statement there, and absolutely, given of course its proximity to Alaska, we'll look at how that would affect that area when we do decide to present that.
This is Major Harris. If there's anything in the meantime that you need between now and that next webinar, as far as a specific product, we can look at producing that for you. So don't hesitate to send us a SAR. Thanks for the input and feedback.
Okay, well, I think we're going to go ahead and formally conclude the webinar. Thanks, everyone that's dialed in. We'll hang on the line here for another 5 minutes or so in case there's any parting questions. Otherwise, we have tentatively scheduled our next webinar for mid-February or so. So we'll send out a notice once that date firms up. And thanks, everyone, for attending.